We're in Isaiah chapter 9, verse 6 and 7. We're doing a pre-Bethlehem series. Just to refresh your memory, what was our first verse? Chapter and verse. Anybody remember? Genesis.
But I don't know the rest.
Yeah. Genesis 3:15 was our first prophecy of a child who would crush the head of the devil. You know, but it said also that Satan would have the opportunity to crush Jesus's heel. And it's really sad that the Jews seem to miss that one, because they expected, the Messiah to come as this royal soldier, conqueror, wipe Rome off the map, and he fooled them. He didn't fool them. I mean, they have this. Isaiah 9, Genesis, Isaiah 7:14 was last week. Behold, a virgin will conceive and call his name what? Emmanuel, which means God with us. And so tonight we're going to open this up to Isaiah 9. Chaz, if you'll get me there on verse 6. I'm counting on you, brother. I didn't bring my sword. I'm counting on Chaz here. So here's verse 6, which is the thrust of what I want to talk to you about. But actually, what I would like to just take, a few minutes tonight, what I want to spend most of the time on, believe it or not, is the portion of it at the very beginning, and I want to make it personal for us, okay? So we'll look at this. So we've learned the child is going to come, be born of a woman. We learned he was going to be born of a virgin. And here we go a little further, really to full, unscaled royalty of this child, okay? Now, what I'd like to do, Chaz, go to verse 7 just a minute, please. Now, there's a word in this verse 7 that's important to something about this child. It says of the increase of his government. Speaking of Jesus, and that's an important word I want you to remember. The increase of his government and peace, there will be no end. Upon the throne of David and over his kingdom, to order it, establish it with judgment and justice from that time forward, even forever. And then there's the confirmation that the zeal of the Lord of hosts will perform this. Okay? Now, the word throne is very important. It's sort of the key to this. As Charles Spurgeon said, men would have Jesus to be everywhere except on his throne. We love him in a little manger and on the cross, but just something about him being on his throne smacks at the pride of mankind. But I want you to notice two things about this throne. Because whenever you think of a throne, obviously you're going to think of the word government, because Jesus is a ruler. He's king. He's Lord of Lords. He's King of Kings. And in Revelation chapter 20, we're met with a great white throne. Okay? And every single human being has to stand before Christ and his throne. And so if you can visualize a little bit of that in your mind, because one day we will all stand alone. And at that time, we're not going to be able to say, well, my neighbor made me do it. The government made me do it. Or the church made me do it. Or it was their fault, all this stuff. It ain't going to matter, because it's just going to be us and the Lord. So the throne is, first of all, a throne of government, which is G-O-V here, which means he rules the world. Okay? He rules the world. But there's a surprise about his throne. And I want to go back to verse 6 to pick up on something else that's mentioned in Hebrews chapter 4, verse 16. That says, it's this beautiful verse that says that when you're in need, when you have a need in your life, he said, come boldly to the throne of what? Huh? Grace. Okay. Now, what does grace mean? Anybody want to take a shot?
Something you don't deserve.
Something you don't deserve. That's right. The phrase we use, which is synonymous with that, is unearned favor. Unmerited favor. Now, that's beautiful because, you stop and think, who could approach God so holy, but yet he's made his throne a throne of grace? Do you know we're saved by grace? Nobody can earn God's love. You can't earn God's favor. And by the way, you all are sitting here tonight, most of you, if not all of you, are professing Christians with me. I want you to think about something that maybe you hadn't thought about in a while. You grew up with folks. You went to school with folks. You had family. And a lot of those people, for various reasons, some of them left this world without Christ. Some of them have thrown their lives away to frivolous nothings. But you're here because God has favored you. You wouldn't dare stand up and say, well, I'm better than they are, would you? Come on, you wouldn't. Has not God blessed you all and favored you? I mean, more times, as Aaron says, than we ever deserve. And that makes you appreciate the Lord so much. And when we're talking about Jesus, this just, man, from head to toe, just blesses me. And this is what I want to talk about with you all, okay? Now, for unto us a child is born. Now, notice that little phrase, unto us. That's the humanity of Jesus, okay? His humanity. He's a child. He was born. Okay? He was a real human being, and I don't have to teach you that. You believe that, and you accept that. But I want you to also notice that he's a son given. And this is a word that we use called the deity of Jesus. Jesus was not only a real man, 100%, he was also God, 100%. Okay? He had to be both. That's a miracle. You say, Brother Bobby, explain that to me. I can't. I don't have to. I just have to believe it. Okay? That Jesus was a full man and he was fully God. Now, there are four, and I want to write these down because I really want you to remember these, because this is where I want to just spend most of the few minutes here that I have with you. Okay? And I'm going to, his name will be called, and these are four things. Actually, there's a comma between wonderful and counselor, but actually, in the original, it's one. He's a wonderful counselor, and the word counselor is this. Okay? Let's do a simple word. He's a planner. Okay? Now, the second title, Mighty God. The Hebrew word emphasizes his power. Okay? Look at this. You've made plans times in your life and something happened and they fell through. Listen to what I'm going to tell you. God has never, ever, ever had a plan that failed. Okay? And you have to be careful there, because when you look at the way the world is, you're like, is this God's plan?
What about when he made man?
That's right. What do you mean, Dad?
He repented. Then he made man.
Yeah, which is a Hebrew word. He was grieved in his heart for what, for men and their sins. That's exactly right, Dad. Exactly right. But in the end, God's plan will be, when all the dust is settled, all of humanity is judged, God's plan will be exactly like He decreed it to be. Okay? All right, so now He's going to be the mighty God. I love the Hebrew word. It means God my hero. The everlasting Father is literally Father of eternity, because you say, Jesus is everlasting Father? I thought God was Father. But it actually means He's the Father of eternity. Okay, if you turn that around. And I'm going to use a big word here. It's a Bible word, and it's important. Okay, preeminence. Am I spelling that right? Preeminence. Okay, and that's very important. The last title, we'll just take the word peace. Okay, now, He's the Prince of Peace. Now, I want you to take these 4 words right here, and I want you to apply them this way. If God the Father gave us a child, unto us was given. And God gave this world His Son. His only unique begotten Son. God so loved the world, He gave us His only begotten Son. Now, I just want to take a second just to refresh our minds on the simplicity of the gospel. The simplicity of the gospel. I feel like religions and denominations and all of us have muddied the waters. That's one of the things I appreciate about Christmas. And I know people say, oh, it's turned into materialism. Well, maybe, maybe not. Because I think it's still pretty precious that somebody would take the time to spend some money to bless somebody else with a gift. Amen? Now, take the gift. Take the word gift. Okay? If I offer Mark a gift, and I stretch out my hand and give this gift to Mark, and we can do all kinds of talking about it. He can say, yeah, Bobby, I appreciate that and everything, and but when does it actually become Mark's? Yeah, when he accepts it. Now watch this. Was that difficult? Mark could have, and don't ask me why. Let me tell you something. Can I have my gift back? I know it destroys my whole theological purpose. There was a homeless guy in Glasgow right about a few years after Daphne and I were married, and I'd seen him for a long time and walking up Columbia Avenue, and I noticed his shoes were like gone, almost falling off his feet, and I just had this little Christian thing in me, and I told Daphne, I said, I got a pair of shoes I want to give to that man. So I put them in my car, And I said, we'll see him out sometime. And we did, right down there in Columbia Avenue in front of the old laundromat. He's walking, and I was so excited like a kid. I whooped my car in there, grabbed my shoes, and I run over to this guy. And I said, man, in Jesus' name, I just want to bless you with these shoes. And he cursed me head to toe. Didn't want my shoes, didn't need my shoes. And I walked away just like you had beat me up. I was so pumped up to bless him. And I mean, he literally just crushed my heart. And you know, as I was walking away, it is almost as if the Father said to me, just a touch of how I feel, that I have offered this world my Son, and multitudes say, I don't want nothing to do with this man Jesus. And I'm going to tell you something. As lovely as he is, you ain't going to heaven without him. Amen. 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 And so here God has made it so simple to receive Christ. As Mark received this from me, receiving Christ in your heart. And I just think that's precious. This verse is so precious that God would give undeserving us His best. Now, I want to start right here just a minute. And I want to bring you all into this. Because whatever Jesus is, whoever He is, when you receive Him, you get all of Him. You don't just get a child. You get, just like, think about it, His name. You have now prayer access to God in Jesus' name. You have authority in His name. And His name, so remember this, okay? Now think with me. It's like when Helen, okay? When Helen, and don't y'all smile because this applies to all of us, but when Helen took David's name, look what she got. I mean, she got all of his everything. David, you know, she's just, look at her smile. She's like, yeah. But when you receive Christ, He's enough. Do you understand? Now, I want to start right here, okay? I want y'all to think with me. One of the things in the Bible that changed my life more than anything else after that I was a Christian, and I wish I could tell you I learned this early, but I didn't. I had to waste my teenage life before I discovered this. But I will tell you something that transformed me forever. It's not really profound, but it was earth-shaking profound to me. Is when I realized that God created me for a purpose. Because I was just a wanderer. Okay? I was just a young, squat, you know, I was like the guy, you know, the pilot said I got up in, 32,000 feet. I got good news, bad news. Bad news is we're lost. That's bad news. But he said the good news is we're making good time. So you're like, wait a minute. And I'm like, that's like so many people. They have no idea what they're supposed to be doing, where they're supposed to be, what am I, where do I go, what do I do, what do I accomplish? But they're busy at it. They're moving 100 miles an hour. Just watch them down the interstate. Think about that. But it literally transformed my life. And I wish that I could take these teenagers that are taking their lives and say, no, you're not a mistake. You're not an accident. You're not a person of chance. God made you. You were fearfully and wonderfully made. People don't come into this world by accident. Amen? And God has a plan for every person. He has a purpose. Romans 8:28, God is working. He's working where so many times we don't have this to accomplish this. We make big plans, but sometimes they fail because we don't have this. But God, this is so exciting because God not only made us, He made us to succeed. He didn't make us to fail. You see what I'm saying? Charles Stanley said something years ago, it just stuck with me, and he was preaching to a conference of preachers. And he said this, oh man, I needed it back in those days. He said, preacher, if you quit, you've preached your loudest sermon. And the sermon you have preached is the God that called you is not big enough to see you through. Think about that. If you quit, you're telling people around you, yeah, I got saved and I thought it would be like this and I thought God would do this for me and do that and it would be this, but so you're telling people that God is not powerful enough. But I'm going to tell you something. You get in God's plan, you get in God's purpose, and you will succeed. Amen? Amen. There's no guarantee that we make our own plans without God. They're going to fail. That's the Tower of Babel. Oh, I'm going to reach up into heaven. No, you're not. It's going to end in confusion. Look at our nation. Look at families. Look at churches. Look at confusion. You know what confusion is? It's men's plans without God. It just won't work. Okay? If you build your house on the sand, the flood's coming, right? But if you want God's will and God's purpose in your life, God will accomplish through you unimaginable things. Amen? So let me finish quoting Romans 8:28. God is working all things together for the good to those that love the Lord and are the called according to His purpose. Do y'all think when Adam and Eve sinned, God went, what am I going to do now? What am I going to do now? No. No. God's a planner. And He has the power to accomplish it. The last phrase in verse 7 was, the zeal of the Lord will perform this. He can perform what He's promised because He has the power to do it. And you know, if there's anything we need a revival of, is the power of God in our lives. Amen? Amen. And I want you to think about this. I want to give you a verse to put in your heart. I want you to think of Jeremiah 29:11. Okay? Jeremiah 29:11 says, God says, the plans that I have planned for you are for good and not disaster. Now I want you to think about that. God's plan and the power to do it. Now, let me throw this in here real quick before I close out. I have to do this because where did we start in Genesis 3:15? There was a bad guy in the garden that tried to destroy God's plan. And listen to me. If the devil didn't get you before you got saved, so he can't destroy your soul, he wants to destroy your testimony. and make you ineffective. Okay? So I'm just going to tell you, brothers and sisters, and this is where this word comes in right here, preeminence. Greater is He that is in us than he that is in the world. So many good Christians are failing. Did y'all ever flunk a test in school? Yeah. One or two of us did. You know, it wasn't a very, very good feeling. Have you all ever flunked in life? You ever made a horrible plan and it just like got blew up or... But you know what? Let me tell you something. God's so gracious to pick us up again and give us a second chance. Amen? Amen. And let me tell you why this word is important. I wish I had time to emphasize tonight. Church, let me remind you all that God still rules the world. That God is still in control. And He's not going to ask me, Bobby, how many people got saved at New Life? He's not going to ask me how much money I made. He's not going to ask me. Let me tell you what God is concerned about more than anything else. This is what He's looking for in me and you more than anything else. If you want to make God happy, which you don't have to earn His love for you, but if you want to please your Heavenly Father, He only wants one thing. He's not going to ask Mark or BJ or Ben. He's not going to ask if they were perfect men. He's not going to ask them if they were perfect parents, perfect husbands. You know what He's going to ask them? Just faithful. You see, ministry was so hard in my generation because the pressure of growing a church. You know, if a family left, it was your fault. If something happened, it was your fault. You know, preacher, why aren't we growing? Let's do this, that. There was so much pressure. And you know what? I'm glad God set me free because God's only asked me one thing, is to be faithful to His Word. Because I can't fix people and I can't change people. And I want to encourage you all tonight. That is what God's looking for. And I led that from here because to be in God's will. I remember, and I know I just don't want to talk about me because you have your moments, but what a day it was in my life when I discovered, and I stood up at Core Hill Baptist Church on a winter revival night. The last night of revival, I was able to just stand up and say, God has called me to preach the gospel. And I want to tell you something. Motherhood, Haley, motherhood is a higher calling than I have. You get them before I do. And so why am I putting an emphasis here? Because, look, it's planned. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm just sort of getting a little excited tonight to know that God has His favor on our life. Some of you have children that you pray for. Shannon, requested and others. But I'm going to believe. Oh, I'm going to believe it. I'm going to speak it. I'm going to say it. I know with all of my heart it's my Father's will for my grandchildren to be saved. Yeah. It's not His will for them to grow up and be on drugs and waste their life. And I know Ben and Whitney will stress to them, God has a plan. Amen? And the reason I picked on Haley's because I want y'all to understand that His plan for you, okay, if you're working where you're working right now, that's God's plan for you right now. You have to believe that. Amen? And when those days come crashing, you're like, oh my goodness, can I do this? Yes, because He's got the power to get you through. And then, how do you know you're right here? How do I know I'm a Christian? How do I know I'm in God's will? Well, I guess there's a lot of different ways, but I want to tell you something. One of the greatest evidences, and I'll close here, one of the greatest evidences of salvation is God's peace. Come on, it's better felt than telt. Y'all know what I'm talking about. But go ahead, Dad.
In this world today or coming later. Because Jesus said, I didn't have to come to bring peace on the world. Is that peace you're talking about? An eternal peace later?
This peace that I'm talking about right now, Dad, is what I would call when you become a Christian, His peace. You know that you have the assurance because the burden of being lost is taken away. It's an inside peace. Does that make sense? Romans 5:1 says we now have peace with God. And Philippians 4:6 says having the peace of God. That's that inside. But exactly what you're talking about is one day when Jesus comes, peace will be the ultimate. But in between there, if you're praying about something, a decision or something in your life, 9 times out of 10, God will give you a peace about it.
Well, how do you take it when what God said that a mother would be saved through childbirth?
Are you referencing in Timothy?
It's in the Bible.
Yeah. I'm not exactly sure the connection.
Is this saved like the promise that God has given us who believe in Him?
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
So God is blessing the mother.
Amen. Absolutely. You know.
Like Mary was blessed.
Mary was blessed. You know. I hope y'all we're in an uncertain world. And that's what the Christmas is about. That's what Jesus is about. Is everything around you may be going crazy. But I'm going to tell you something. If Jesus lives in your heart, He's the Prince of Peace. Amen. And so I'm just thankful tonight that everything's okay. You know? And I'd like to close with something that happened that fits this. I'm going to close right here about this word peace. My Uncle Larry had, they must be playing soccer or something in there. I don't know. I'm going to have to. So my Uncle Larry Steenbergen called me one night and he said, Bobby, can you come out to the hospital? I don't even remember the man's name, but I think it was his uncle. And this is several years ago, so I head out to the TJ. I went to the room, and there's this small man on his deathbed. And so I went in, immediately introduced myself to the old man. He was conscious. And I told him who I was and just didn't really beat around the bush much. He was going out into eternity, and I just asked him if he'd ever been saved, if he knew the Lord. And he looked at me and he said, I don't know. So I asked him, I said, it's like it happened yesterday. I said to him, how old are you? And he told me he was 80-something years old. And I said, was there ever a time in your life that you asked the Lord to save you from your sin? And he looked at me, and I'll never forget this. He looked at me and he said, When I was 14 years old, I was at a Brush Harbor revival meeting. And he said, I went up and got on my knees and asked the Lord to save me. And I'm just standing there, okay, keep going. What happened? And which is exactly what I asked him. I said, tell me what happened. And he said this. Here's what he said. He said, I had this peace to just come all over me, and I didn't feel like I needed to pray anymore. And I got excited, and I opened my Bible to Isaiah 32:17 and showed him the work of righteousness is peace. When God does a work on your heart, it's peace. The burden's gone. I showed him that. I couldn't tell him he was saved, but I could show him the Word of God, okay? And so, hang on, Rodney, let me finish this, and I want you to speak up. So, I've got to give you the rest of the story. So, I had prayer with him. That was it. When I left that room, I felt good about it, but I just had prayer with him and went on home. And I bet it was an hour later, Larry woke me up. I'd already hit the sack for work, and Larry woke me up in tears, and Larry couldn't hardly. And he said, Bobby, he's died within that time frame. And Larry said, he's like he couldn't get his composure. Finally, he said, I got to tell you something. He said, before he died, he threw his arms in the air and shouted, I'm ready to go. And, whew, glory to God. Man, I don't want... I'm going to ruin my story by telling you, because you may be thinking when you go home, wait a minute. He was saved when he was 14, but he didn't know till he was dying? Yep. Do you know why? I'll tell you why. Because I asked him why. I said, you had this peace and you didn't tell anybody? He said, an old woman who was knelt beside me said, son, if you don't get up shouting, don't get up. Boy, wouldn't you like to just slap her hand? If you had to shout as evidence of being saved, I'm lost. But I'm not lost. Let me tell you something. God's going to take care of y'all. Your Father is going to take care of you. Rodney, speak up, brother.
Yeah, you talk about peace, and I've told you these stories, and you like hearing them and everything, but I got a little one I like to share. 2004 actually, I was 24 years old, and I've been 18 months, I was carrying my own shadow, was going to jump up and shoot and everything. Been over there for a long time, and you want to talk about peace and everything. That plane touched down over on United States soil, and you get off of that plane, and you walk on United States soil, and you see your family and friends and loved ones waiting there for you and everything.
Wow.
And that is a feeling of peace and tranquility that comes over you that I cannot explain. But in the back of my heart, I kind of hope that's what heaven's like. When you cross over that river and you walk into those gates, and your long lost families and friends that you've not seen in a long time, they're waiting there to see you and hug you and welcome you home.
Wow. Good. Well said, Rodney. Well said, brother. Amen. Amen, you all.